which rounded to the last year's been really tough, and that's somewhat my fault. And the next year is going to be maybe our best 12 months.
Yeah.
I'd love you to reflect on both, maybe starting with why you said the first part and why you believe the second part.
On the first part, I think we're doing too many things. We're not focused enough. And they're actually all good things to do. But the trick is we're in this like unbelievable moment in history where you can only do the very few great things. So we spread ourselves too thin and then made a bunch of difficult decisions to really refocus on having the best, most abundant, most cost-effective intelligence and empowering the world to build incredible things with that. Since doing that, I think our progress has been remarkable, and just given what we see in the pipeline, will be much more remarkable over the next 12 months. And the quality of the models that we'll have, the products that we can build around that to really let people thrive with this technology in new ways, it should be pretty awesome.
Was there a moment last year that something clicked for you that caused you to change directions or restack priorities or something?
If you go back to the beginning of 2025, just a year and a half ago, the big concern was companies like OpenAI are buying up so much compute. Is the revenue going to be there? Is the demand going to be there? And so we were trying to think about like a lot of things, such that if the revenue growth took longer to materialize than we thought it might, we could have, consumer apps and media and all these other things that could help us monetize the GPUs that we were signing up for. Again, it sounds ridiculous now because the revenue growth in the industry has been so steep, but that was the big change. And then as soon as we realized the model trajectory is growing so fast, there's such a clear economic return on these models. That was when we said, we know what to focus on.
I was reading some of your great old posts from prior to OpenAI, and one of them is this notion of so much discussion of focus and the right amount of things to focus on. Is it 1? Is it 5? Is it 3? How do you calibrate that in a business like this, especially in this period where you've said you needed to refocus?
Fundamentally, our business is to sell AI that people will build incredible products and services for each other with. The components that I think of as going into that are, we have to train great models that work in all the ways people want to use them. So great at coding, great at other kinds of knowledge work, great at doing science, like where the real economic value is. We have to produce or partner with these chips and systems, these hugely expensive racks that can do the AI computation. We have to find enough land power data center shells to be able to put those racks somewhere. And then eventually, or maybe pretty soon, we have to build robots that can automate that process to continue to drive the cost down, the cost of producing electricity, chips, the whole supply chain. And that kind of whole stack of making the best, the most abundant, the most useful AI that we can, and making it something like electricity that just seeps throughout the entire economy and empowers people, that's kind of what I think we have to focus on. Building every vertical application on top of that, trying to go eat every startup, eat every company. No interest in doing that. Really want to just provide that platform.
This compute thing is one of the most interesting things that's happened in human history, I think. And it's obviously coming to a head, and maybe will be coming to a head for a long period of time. This is something that I think Dario called you the YOLO CEO when you were doing some of this early compute allocation and securing the compute. Obviously now you're in this position where everyone is short this stuff, is trying to find it. And I'd love to hear the early stories about why you gained conviction that you needed to secure everything that you did, how you did it. It seems to have been proven right, and maybe you even underdid it.
We did underdo it,
which is kind of crazy if you look at the headlines from back then. Can you tell me the early story of how you came to that conclusion and what gave you the conviction to do it despite everyone thinking it was crazy?
We could just tell that we were on this exponential of model improvement. That part we were very confident about, and we knew it was going to keep going. We were pretty sure, although as you mentioned, we underestimated, that as the models got better and better, if we could continue to drive costs down, the demand for AI at a sufficiently high level and a sufficiently low price was basically uncapped. This was just a rare kind of new commodity for the world. But that what people would do with it reminded me of the way people used to talk about the early days of computing. People said, there's a market for 5 computers in the world was one famous thing, or no one needs more than X amount of RAM. Human ingenuity, creativity, desire for stuff, desire to be useful, that's a very good thing to bet on. And we could see that AI was going to be an extremely important way that people expressed those things or got those things, did those things. And we knew that the algorithms would get more efficient and the models would get better, which of course they have. But we also knew that no matter how efficient they got. At some level, what we are about is turning electricity into useful intelligence. And we were going to need more of that. No matter how good we got that other layer, given this observation about demand, we were just going to want more.
Did that start with GPT-3? Like if I were to trace the history of this as far back as possible, where would you put the first hash mark of it?
I would say we got real conviction with GPT-4, not even 3.5.
What was it?
It was seeing the model was smart enough that we knew we'd be able to figure out an approach that worked for reasoning, and then a belief that if we got reasoning to work, that would bring about what is now called agents. We called it different things at the time, but the ability to go do hugely valuable pieces of economic work and make people's lives easier in a lot of ways that I think better in a lot of ways we still haven't seen.
What was like the first meeting where you sat down and said, okay, we need to make an outrageous outlay to this? Like what then happened? Once you had the realization, what did you do next?
We started calling the clouds. We started calling the chip fabs. We started calling energy providers, and everyone was like, you're totally crazy. This is impossible. No industry has ever moved like this. We've been around. There's these booms and busts. It's not going to go up in a straight line. This is reckless. Talk to everybody. It actually reminded me of fundraising for an early stage startup. Kind of most people tell you no, but all you need is one or two yeses. Most people told us no. And we got one or two yeses, and we were able to.
Who was the first yes?
Microsoft was the first yes. Oracle then became a very big yes on the cloud side. NVIDIA has been a tremendous partner.
Now there's 1,000 flowers blooming of like ways to be creative and innovative in how we serve inference and do training in data centers, different kinds of data centers and stuff. I'd love you to just reflect on where you see innovation, what you want to do, why people seem to hate these things so much. What's to be done about this?
First of all, I have been thinking about how we can like organize field trips to a gigawatt data center for people, because it is one thing to say, it is another thing to see a photo or a video of, and then it's a whole other thing to just stand there and be like, oh man, this is like an unbelievable scale. Building one of these is like order of 10,000 construction workers going full time for a year and a half. The energy that flows through one of these things could power a small city. Again, we just like lost all sense of scale, but these would have been each of these would have been among the most expensive infrastructure projects that humanity's ever done. And now we've done a lot of them. I understand emotionally like why people don't want data centers in their backyard, in the same way that I don't like really want a nuclear power plant next to my house, even though I know it's a super safe thing. Unlike power plants, and even power plants have gotten better on this point, like we can put a data center kind of anywhere. We should just go put it like off in the desert around no one, where no one wants to be. This is fine. This is like the AI system is very happy to be there. We have been able to make a lot of progress with innovation on some of the concerns. Like, for example, years ago, we were evaporating water to cool these systems. They needed tremendous amounts of water. And now we use these cool